You looked in the mirror yesterday, and for a split second, you did not recognize the person staring back at you. Not because you look different, but because something in the eyes was missing. Something that used to be there, and you know exactly when it left, even if you cannot name the moment. It left the day you decided that being loved was more important than being yourself. That is what this message is about. Not transformation in some higher realm, not shifting into a new frequency. This is about something far more painful and far more real. This is about the person you used to be before the world told you that person was not enough. And this is about the moment right now where you get to decide if you are going to spend the rest of your life pretending, or if you are finally ready to come home to yourself. Stay with me until the end, because what I am about to show you will do three things. First, I will name the exact moment you started losing yourself, and why you could not stop it even though you felt it happening. Second, I will give you 5 signs that prove you are living as someone else right now. And if you recognize even 3 of them, this message was written specifically for you. And third, I will hand you a practice so simple, you can start it tonight, but so powerful that 30 days from now, you will not recognize the person in the mirror. And this time, that will be a good thing. But before we go there, I need you to do something for me. If you are still reading, if something in your chest just tightened when I said those words about not recognizing yourself, let your like be your signal. Not for me, not for the algorithm, for you. Let it be the moment you admit that you have been living as a version of yourself that you do not even like. And that admission is the first crack in the wall you built to protect everyone else from who you really are. Now let me take you back to a moment you probably do not think about anymore, but your body remembers. There was a day, maybe years ago, maybe months, when you made a choice. Someone asked you what you wanted, and you looked at their face before you answered. You read their expression. You calculated what they wanted to hear, and then you said that, instead of the truth, it felt small at the time. It felt like kindness. It felt like keeping the peace. But that was the first brick. That was the moment you learned that your real answer was not safe, that your real opinion might cost you something, that your real self might be too much or not enough or too different, and so you started editing. Not all at once, just small cuts here and there. You laughed at jokes you did not find funny because everyone else was laughing and you did not want to be the one who did not get it. You agreed with opinions you did not share because disagreeing meant conflict and conflict meant risk. You said yes when everything in you was screaming no because saying no might mean losing them. You stayed quiet when you wanted to speak, because speaking up might draw attention to the parts of you that did not fit. You spoke when you wanted to stay quiet because silence might make them think you were judging them. And every single time you did that, you lost a little bit more of yourself. Not to something dramatic, not to some villain. You lost yourself to 1,000 small compromises that seemed harmless at the time. You lost yourself to the belief that the world needed you to be smaller, quieter, easier. You lost yourself to the fear that if people saw who you really were, they would not choose you, and so you chose them over you, every single time. Let me show you 5 signs that tell me you are living this way right now. And I want you to count how many you recognize, because the number you count is the number of years you have been hiding. The first sign is you can no longer make decisions without asking someone else first. Even small things. What to eat, what to wear, what to watch. You have trained yourself to outsource your preferences because you do not trust your own taste anymore. You do not trust that what you want matters. So you ask, what do you think? What should I do? And you wait for someone else to tell you who you are allowed to be today. The second sign, you feel exhausted after being around people who are supposed to energize you. You come home from a dinner with friends and you are drained. Not because they did anything wrong, because you spent the entire night performing, monitoring your laugh, adjusting your opinions, making sure you were not too much or too little. And that performance costs you everything. The third sign is you have stopped doing the things you used to love. Not because you do not have time, because those things remind you of who you used to be, and that person feels like a stranger now. The hobbies you dropped, the music you stopped listening to, the dreams you stopped mentioning because every time you brought them up, someone made a face or changed the subject or said something that made you feel foolish for still wanting them. The fourth sign, you have become fluent in the language of almost. I almost said something. I almost left. I almost chose myself. But you did not, because at the last second you talked yourself out of it. You convinced yourself that keeping the peace was worth more than keeping your voice. And now almost has become your native tongue. And the fifth sign is the most heartbreaking one. You do not remember the last time you did something just because you wanted to. Not because it made someone proud. Not because it looked good. Not because it fit the version of you that everyone expects. Just because it made you feel alive. If you cannot remember the last time that happened, you have been gone longer than you think. If you recognized 3 or more of those signs, I need you to type the words "I am still here" in the comments. Not for me, for the part of you that is buried under all the versions you built to survive. Let it know that you see it, that you remember it, that you are coming back for it. Now here is what I need you to understand about everything you just recognized. You did not lose yourself because you are weak. You lost yourself because you are human. Because from the time you were a child, you were taught that love is conditional, that acceptance has a price, that belonging requires you to betray the parts of yourself that do not fit. No one sat you down and said it directly. They did not have to. You learned it every time you got excited about something and someone rolled their eyes. Every time you shared an idea and the room went quiet. Every time you were yourself and it cost you something. A friendship, a relationship, a job, a seat at the table. And so you learned to read the room before you entered it. You learned to shape-shift. You learned to become whoever you needed to be to stay safe, and it worked. You kept the friends, you kept the relationship, you kept the job, but you lost yourself in the process. And now you are here, exhausted from holding a shape that was never yours, wondering if it is too late to go back. Let me tell you something that will change everything. It is not too late, but it is urgent, because every day you spend pretending is a day you do not get back. Every conversation where you smile and nod when you want to scream and walk away is a conversation that builds the prison taller. And I am not being dramatic. I am telling you what happens to people who spend their entire lives performing. They wake up at 50, 60, 70, and they realize they do not know who they are. They have spent so many years being what everyone else needed that they cannot remember what they wanted. And the saddest part is not that they lost themselves. It is that the people they were trying to please do not even remember the sacrifice. They moved on, they forgot, and you are left holding a life you did not choose, surrounded by people who love a version of you that does not exist. But here is the other side of that coin. There is a moment, and you are in it right now, where you get to choose differently, where you get to stop performing, where you get to take off the mask, even if your hands are shaking, even if you are terrified of what happens when people see the real you. This is your Kairos moment, not the spiritual kind, the real kind, the kind where you decide that you would rather lose people by being yourself than keep people by being someone else. If that just hit you, if your heart just started beating faster, let your light confirm it. Let it be the moment you choose yourself even if no one else does. Now let me tell you what happens when you start choosing yourself. And I am not going to sugarcoat this because you need the truth, not a fairy tale. When you start choosing yourself, you will lose people. Not everyone, but some. The ones who loved the mask more than the person. The ones who needed you small to feel big. The ones who only kept you around because you never challenged them, never disagreed, never made them uncomfortable. Those people will leave, and it will hurt. But here is what they do not tell you about that hurt. It is the good kind. The kind that means you are healing. The kind that means you are finally cutting away the dead weight. And on the other side of that hurt is something you have not felt in years: space. Space to breathe, space to think. Space to want something without asking permission. And that space is where you will find yourself again. But you have to be willing to walk through the loss first. You have to be willing to sit in the discomfort of people being disappointed in you. Of people saying you have changed. Of people questioning what happened to the old you. And you have to be strong enough to say, the old me was not real. This is real. And if you cannot love this version, that is okay, but I am not going back. Can you say that? Can you mean it? If you can, type it in the comments right now. Type "this is real." Let it be your line in the sand. Now let me give you the tool I promised. This is practical. This is something you can start tonight. I call it the reclamation practice. And it has 3 parts. Every single day for the next 30 days, you are going to reclaim one piece of yourself. Just one. It does not have to be big. It does not have to be loud. It just has to be true. Part 1. The morning question. Every morning before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you start performing for the day, you ask yourself one question out loud. What do I actually want today? Not what do I need to do? Not what does everyone expect? What do I want? And then you listen. You give yourself 60 seconds of silence, and you listen to the answer. You do not talk yourself out of it, you just hear it. And if it is something small, like I want coffee instead of tea, or I want to wear the shirt no one likes, you do it. You reclaim that one small choice. Part 2. The afternoon boundary. Once a day, you practice saying no, not to be difficult, not to prove a point. But because you mean it, someone asks you to do something you do not want to do, you say no. Someone tries to pull you into a conversation you do not want to have. You exit. Someone expects you to laugh at something that is not funny. You do not. You let the silence sit. You let them feel uncomfortable, and you remind yourself that their comfort is not your responsibility. Part 3. The evening reflection. Before you go to bed, you write down one thing you did today that felt like you, not the performed version, not the people-pleasing version. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting, maybe you chose the movie, maybe you wore the outfit, maybe you just said what you actually thought instead of what you thought they wanted to hear. You write it down, and you read it back to yourself. And you say out loud, this is who I am, and I am not apologizing for it anymore. 3 parts, 30 days. And I promise you, if you do this, the person in the mirror will start looking familiar again. If this tool just gave you something you can actually use, something you can start tonight, let me know. Now, before I release you, I need to tell you something that you are not going to want to hear, but you need to hear it anyway. The people in your life who benefit from you being small are not going to celebrate your growth. They are going to call it selfish. They are going to say you are changing, and not in a good way. They are going to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. And you need to be ready for that. Because the moment you start reclaiming yourself, the moment you start saying no, the moment you stop performing, they are going to push back. Not because they are evil, because your growth threatens their comfort, your boundaries disrupt their expectations, and they would rather have you small and manageable than whole and unpredictable. But here is what you need to remember when that happens. Their reaction is not about you. It is about them. It is about what they are losing. And what they are losing is not you. It is the version of you that they created, the version that never challenged them, the version that always said yes, the version that made them feel good about themselves. And if they cannot love the real you, that is their loss, not yours. You are not responsible for making people comfortable with your growth. You are not responsible for shrinking so they can feel big. You are not responsible for staying small so they do not have to change. Your only responsibility is to yourself, to the person you were before the world got to you, to the kid who knew what they wanted before someone told them it was wrong, to the version of you that is buried under all the masks, waiting for you to come back. And I am telling you right now, that version is still there, tired, maybe, quiet, maybe, but not gone. And it is time to go back for it. If you feel that pull, if something in you just woke up, type the words "I am coming back" in the comments. Let it be your promise to yourself. Now let me paint you a picture of what your life looks like a year from now if you do this work. You wake up and the first thing you feel is not dread, it is curiosity. What do I want today? And you actually know the answer. You get dressed and you wear what you want to wear, not what makes you look acceptable, not what hides the parts of you that you have been taught to hate. You wear what makes you feel like you. You go to work or you start your day, and when someone asks your opinion, you give it, the real one. And when someone does not like it, you do not spiral. You do not spend the rest of the day wondering if you said the wrong thing. You just move on because you know that not everyone is going to like you, and that is okay because you like you. You have coffee with a friend, and the conversation is real. You are not performing, you are not monitoring, you are just there. And when you come home, you are not exhausted, you are full, because you spent time being yourself instead of time pretending. You have hobbies again. You have opinions again. You have preferences again. And when someone asks you what you want, you do not look at their face first. You look inside yourself and you tell the truth. And some people love it, and some people do not. And you are okay either way. Because you are not trying to be loved by everyone anymore. You are trying to be yourself, and the people who love that version, those are your people, and the people who do not, they were never yours to begin with. That is the life waiting for you, not in some distant future, not after you become someone else, right now, the moment you stop pretending and start being. If you want that life, if you are ready to stop hiding, let your like seal it. Now let me speak directly to the part of you that is scared. I know you are terrified of what happens when you stop performing. I know you are afraid that if people see the real you, they will leave. And I am not going to lie to you and say they will not. Some of them will. But here is what I know that you do not know yet. The ones who leave were never meant to stay. They were only there for the version of you that did not exist. And when they leave, they make room. Room for the people who see you, the real you, and choose to stay anyway. Room for the kind of love that does not require you to shrink. Room for friendships that do not cost you your voice. Room for a life that does not feel like a performance. And I know you are thinking, but what if no one stays? What if I show up as myself and I am alone? Let me tell you something that will change your life. Being alone as yourself is better than being surrounded by people as someone else. Because at least when you are alone, you have you. And that is the person you have been running from your entire life. The person you have been too afraid to meet. But once you meet them, once you sit with them, once you let them speak, you realize something that no one told you. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are not too different. You are just you. And that is not only enough, it is everything. If you needed to hear that today, if that just broke something open in you, type the words "I am enough" in the comments. Let it be the first time you say it and actually mean it. Now, before I close, I need to activate something in you. This is not a prayer, this is a reclamation, and it was written for the version of you that has been waiting in silence. I speak to the part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you to be different. I call that part forward. I speak to the voice that went quiet because it was not safe to speak. I give that voice permission to speak again. I speak to the boundaries that collapsed because you were taught that love requires sacrifice. I rebuild those boundaries now. And I speak to the version of you that has been hiding because the real you felt too risky. I tell that version, it is safe now. Not because the world changed, because you did. You are no longer willing to trade yourself for acceptance. You are no longer willing to shrink for comfort. You are no longer willing to perform for applause. You are done pretending, and you are ready to come home. And I hear the voice of truth saying this. You are not who they said you were. You are not the mask you wore to survive. You are not the version you built to keep the peace. You are the person underneath all of that, the one who knows what they want, the one who is not afraid to want it, the one who would rather be alone and whole than surrounded and empty. And that person is not coming back. That person is here, right now, reading these words, feeling the pull, hearing the call. And it is time to stop hiding. I am not who they need me to be. I am who I was created to be, and I am done apologizing for it. I am reclaiming my voice. I am reclaiming my choices. I am reclaiming my life, and I am not asking permission anymore. If that is your declaration, if that is your truth, type the word "reclaimed" in the comments. Let it be the moment you took yourself back. Now, one last thing. If this message found you at the exact right moment, if it named something you have been feeling but could not put into words, do not keep it to yourself. There is someone in your life right now who is drowning in the same performance, who is exhausted from being someone they are not, who needs to hear that it is okay to stop pretending. Send this to them. Do not wait. Do not assume they will find it on their own. Be the person who gives them permission to be themselves again. And if this message shifted something in you, if it cracked the wall you have been hiding behind, let your like be the evidence. Let it send this message further, so it can reach the next person who is ready to stop performing and start living. You are not leaving a message. You are leaving a mask. And what is waiting for you on the other side is not perfect. It is real. And real is what you have been missing your entire life. Go be yourself. The world will adjust.